As president, I make $2 million over 4 years, $2.5 million. I waived it. I'm the only president that ever waived it. And they never, ever talk about it, because we've had wealthy presidents before. In the history of our country, there's never been a president that waived his salary. I'm the only schmuck.
I'm the only schmuck that waived my salary. Used to, during World War II, there were a lot of people that served in government. They were called dollar-a-year men. And they came from wealthy families, and they would waive their salaries, let the government keep them. They'd take $1 a year in salary as a symbolic gesture. Well, a very happy Friday to you, and welcome back once again. We are at 888-630-9625. The United States Supreme Court just moments ago struck down President Trump's tariffs, his tariffs. Supreme Court strikes down all IEEPA tariffs. The Liberation Day tariffs and other tariffs, and the Supreme Court now slapping that down. President called them emergency tariffs, I believe, in some instances. But the Supreme Court has now ruled that President Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs are no good, not kosher, not halal, and not legal. So the Supreme Court striking him down. President Trump will shrug and get on with the next effort. There's a lot to do. I don't think that means we have to return the money, though. I think we get to keep the money in our coffers and all of that. Yes, sir. And with that said, I want to get to Chicago. Let's go to Chicago, Illinois, where the Democrats rule the roost, of course, and there are a couple of stories coming out of there because a woman who is the lieutenant governor of the state of Illinois, she's a radical leftist. Her name is Juliana Stratton. And Juliana Stratton, you will find, is running for the U.S. Senate. You can find her campaign ads and her website, julianastratton.com. And Juliana Stratton for U.S. Senate, fighting for Illinois. Juliana Stratton for U.S. Senate. They're always fighting, aren't they? They just want to fight about everything. They're the party of the first American Civil War, and they're coming back for more, I think. Pretty crazy stuff. But here it is, the Hill in Washington, D.C., with the headline, Illinois Senate candidate launches campaign ad featuring people saying, beep Trump over and over again. And they have to do the F dash in the headline at the Hill. Former Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, a Democrat, on Thursday released a new campaign ad featuring several Prairie State residents, including Senator Tammy Duckworth, who's out there cursing. And she's a Democrat from Illinois, and she came on to say, beep Trump, because Trump derangement syndrome is a very real mental illness. And then Stratton, who's running for the U.S. Senate, says, they said it, not me. But listen to this, because they're just Democrats. They couldn't be more vulgar, more vile, violently, criminally insane, bloodthirsty criminals. I think every Democrat is criminal. Democrats, if you're a registered Democrat, should not be allowed to buy a firearm legally. Probably shouldn't be allowed to get through TSA because you're a danger to everyone around you. But after another batch of beep Trump messages, including one from Tammy Duckworth, the Democrat senator, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who inherited billions from his grandfather, and then the governor, J.B. Pritzker, he pops up at the end and says, vote Juliana, who's the one for whom everyone is cursing up a storm and saying, beep Trump, over and over again. So Stratton is seeking retiring Senator Dick Durbin's seat, the left-wing radical extremist America hater, Dickie the Turban, as he's called, with the state's primary taking place on March 7th. polling averages from various outlets show Stratton trailing behind Representative Raja Krishnamurthy. And Raja Krishnamurthy is another Democrat who's a radical and also does not share American values, The two candidates, along with Representative Robin Kelly, another Democrat from Illinois, went toe-to-toe during an hour-long debate last month. President Trump and ICE were among the biggest topics to loom over the course of the debate. If you can imagine, they like more crime. Democrats like to have a lot more crime, with Kelly saying that she filed a letter of impeachment for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, because they're going to impeach everybody. It's really they want to restart the what's it called? Oh, the Confederate States of America. That's the thing with the Democrats. Now, with that said, let's go to the TV ad that the Illinois Democrat running for the U.S. Senate, Juliana Stratton. Here is her ad. It is a 30-second television ad. It ends with the Democrat inherited billionaire governor, J.B. Pritzker, saying, oh, yeah, vote for this mentally ill psychotic with the vulgar TV ad, and all the Democrats love it.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Mentally ill white people.
They said it, not me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I'm proud to have lived my whole life on the south side of Chicago. I'm not scared of a wannabe dictator. I'm running for Senate to stand up to Donald Trump. I'll abolish ICE and hold Trump accountable for the crimes he's committed, just like they said.
Trump.
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 Vote Juliana.
That's why I approve this message.
See, that's at the end. Vote Juliana. That's the Democrat governor of the J.B. Pritzker, who actually died of morbid obesity about 3 days ago, but he's still moving around. It's kind of weird. But there it is. Fox News, Illinois lieutenant governor seeking U.S. Senate seat, releases video of people saying, beep Trump, over and over again, because they're keeping it classy. And, get your rifles, because the Democrats, isn't it wonderful? NBC fake news. Illinois Democrat tries to bleep her way through a tough Senate primary with a new expletive-laden anti-Trump ad. It's an anti-Trump ad. Honestly, she's Hitler. She's a racist fascist. She's really more Eva Braun than Adolf Hitler, I think. But there it is. She's Adolf Hitler only had one testicle. I think she might be competing in that realm. It's hard to say. But contrived coarseness, the National Review. Contrived coarseness, like Juliana Stratton, is here to stay. That's the headline at the National Review. And Jeffrey Blahar is writing the piece. And it's true, the Democrat Party, they love cursing up. So I've got, we should have a montage of the Democrats, all the elected Democrats using the F word and the S word and the BS and they curse up a storm. They do it on camera. They do it on stage at political events because they're making everything better and harvesting the organs of millions of children that they snuff out. But that's okay. At least they want to save fish in Oregon from being killed and eaten by fishermen, and they want to save insects in Oregon from exterminators because that's their new ballot initiative, to ban hunting, to ban fishing, to ban exterminators because they love fish and beetles, bugs, insects. But people, they don't like people so much. No, sir. There it is. Yeah, and the National Review. For those unaware, Betteridge's law of headlines is a famous maxim of media interpretation that posits that any headline that ends in a question mark can be answered with the word no. I've said that here before. I've never heard that quoted as Betteridge's law of headlines, but okay, it's a good law because it's true if it ends in a question mark. Generally, the answer to the question is no. Was Donald Trump a Russian asset? Question mark. No, it's just you guys lying again, making things up because you're mentally ill. It's a pretty useful heuristic, he says. And I'll confess, it was the first thing that came to mind when I saw my My colleague, Noah Rothman, asked, has contrived coarseness jumped the shark? The answer, of course, is no. It has not. In fact, we'll only get more of it as we go. As primary season heats up and beyond that as we head into 2028, why contrived hysteria is practically the coin of the realm at this point. And I got to say, the Democrats, they have the brains of children. And children use the F word, and they hope that it'll get a reaction from the adults in the room. Now, the Democrats may be old, but they have the brains of children. They may be old, crusty relics of the Democrat Party, but they think that there's shock value in using the F word in TV ads and on and on. Isn't it great to be a Democrat? Because that's what they do. Beep Trump. Now, imagine a Republican ad. I don't think NBC News CNN would be comfortable and sanguine about Republicans having an ad where they say, beep Barack Obama. Racist, then they'd have to be reminded that they are the party of lynching black people because they seem to forget it. Every time they're reminded of it, it just washes away from their tiny little child brains. So we have that going. Yes, sir. These people. All right, we've got more. I've got President Trump audio I want to share with you today. But he doesn't curse. He doesn't use the F word. People like to call it the F-bomb. The F-bomb. The Democrats have the brains of 5-year-olds. It's kind of funny. I got my brother. One of my brothers is visiting. I can't tell this whole story right now, but one of my brothers is visiting and staying with us this week. And when he was a little baby, he is 9 years younger than I am. And when he was a little baby and I was more grown up, he was being bounced on the knee of his grandfather and trying to get him to say mommy, daddy, grandpa. And his very first word is just right around 2 years old. His very first word was this word that was just used in the end because our oldest brother, had been using the word in every sentence for about a month. And my little brother was a 2-year-old, and his first word, clear as a bell. And we were talking about it last night, actually, over cool beverages. But now the Democrats, again, he was a baby, and he was imitating his older brother, and it's kind of a family story now, of course. All right, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Mary, calling from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Mary, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hello. Hi, Chris. Thank you for taking my call.
But of course, thank you for calling.
This is the first time I've called, and I've been a long-time listener. Trying to get my phone on so I can take it off speaker there. I absolutely adore the show, and I wanted to say that I really appreciate your appreciation or your thing for grammar, other people's poor grammar, and it tickles me to death because I have a Catholic school education, and it's the first thing I do is pick out everybody's little, like, A before you say an historical event instead of a historical event. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, pay attention. And it's true. The nuns teach you this, to have respect for the English language.
Well, and they murder it. You can't, and it's like you were talking about these people, the authors of articles or whatever, that they don't know how to write. The ones that you played the other day, the clips that you played, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but they were completely off.
Right. I'm nodding.
Remember?
I'm sitting here nodding, and I'm reading headlines and lead sentences, and the grammar is horrible, and they use the incorrect words.
It is terrible.
Sentence structure, and they're journalists.
It's ridiculous. None of them know anything about the English language whatsoever. Where were they in English comp? Right?
Absolutely. I understand that completely. And everybody, I got to tell you, newspapers and editors should have more respect for the English language.
Yeah. And you wonder, where did the editors go to school? How did they get their jobs? Did they send in an email? I mean,
Right.
Did they get it from Wikipedia?
Honestly, and I'm glad that you called in to mention this because it's something that has obviously nagged at me forever, and I enjoy mocking it and ridiculing it.
I hear it every time, every single time they screw it up. I hear it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I also wanted to mention the tree huggers in Oregon real quick. And I had something about Nancy Pelosi real quick, too. But I didn't mention that to Jasmine because I thought of it afterwards.
That's
anyway,
okay.
The tree huggers in Oregon, where do these people have parents? Isn't Oregon where they have a lot of, what do you call it, extraterrestrial alien stuff and spaceships and stuff up there where they may be dropped off?
We've got spaceship news today too. President Trump and
oh yeah, cool.
and talked about spaceships and space aliens and stuff. Now I'm running out the clock on you real quick, Mary.
That's okay, but I just wanted to say Nancy Pelosi's name should have been Nancy Boghosi.
Nancy Boghosi.
Yeah.
Descendant of Bela Lugosi.
Maybe.
That's great. Mary, you're wonderful. Keep laughing. Have a great Colorado Springs day and keep appreciating the proper use of the English language. I thank you for that. All right, and back to the telephones we go before I get to the next heap and helping of Democrat crazy. And I'll update you on the Supreme Court as well, a 6-3 ruling on President Trump's tariffs. But let's go to, let's see, let's go to Big Daddy. Let's go to Big Daddy. He's not just a Tennessee Williams character. Calling from Arkansas, Big Daddy, you're on the Chris Plante Show. No mendacity, please.
Thank you very much, Chris, for taking my call. I really enjoy you every day here in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Thank you, my friend.
I've got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
I've got a daughter that's, I've raised a daughter, and I don't understand the parents of these kids that are going to these Epstein Islands that are 13 and 15 years old. We hear about the girls, but we don't ever hear about the parents. Do the parents just turn these girls loose, or is there something that I don't understand, how parents will just let your kids, young girls, go off with men in an airplane or spend the weekend at a townhouse in New York City or a ranch in New Mexico? That's my first question. And my second question is, I know Epstein had a job as a high school math teacher. That's the only job I've ever heard he's ever had. But he has homes in New Mexico, New York, Miami, Epstein Island, and Paris, France. He has 2 airplanes. He also bought Ghislaine Maxwell a helicopter. Where in the hell does he get his money, or what does he do for a living?
Right. No, these are very, very good points. It's true. Where are the parents of these 13 and 15-year-old girls? The answer there is Democrats. And the answer to the second part is corruption. Big goings on at the Supreme Court, 6-3 decision. We have on the 3 side Justice Clarence Thomas, the great Justice Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, the great Justice Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh, who the Democrats, they sent a murderer to his house to kidnap him and kill him and assassinate him. And notice how that story just went away. That's just a non-story, right? It's not important like George Floyd or Renee Good, big news like that. Just another Democrat with another gun trying to assassinate another government official because they're all mental. Mental is the thing. And it looks like John Roberts wrote the opinion for the majority 6, striking down President Trump's tariffs. And you were just reading a clip from the did you send that to me? Because the Supreme Court, they're going to catch a lot of grief about this, I expect, unsurprisingly, perhaps. But and then I do want to get to the space aliens because President Trump was asked about space aliens aboard Air Force One, and he responded. So I want to get to that coming up pretty quick, I've got to say. But we've got a lot to get to still, and it's Friday. It's Friday, I'm telling you. And as I mentioned, my brother's visiting, so another night of going out tonight, I think. There's another going out night tonight. Also, there's a funny weather story out there, and I saw it yesterday, and I had it in front of me on the computer yesterday, but I didn't get to it. And it has to do with the weather, the East Coast over the weekend, the Northeast in particular. The headlines are all about nor'easters, storms on the Northeast. And the nor'easter that may hit Washington, D.C. and New York and the northeastern United States over the weekend with a lot of snow and things like that. And the Capital Weather Gang, they want to track this stuff and let you know ahead of time what's going to happen. And they have maps with big green blobs all over the East Coast and out over the Atlantic Ocean. And they have maps that said, one map with a big green blob over the Northeast says light to moderate snow event. That's one thing. And then next to that, that's the NAM model, N-A-M model, that says light to moderate snow event. And then next to that, the American model has heavy snowfall event, right? The Canadian model has light to moderate snow event. That would affect us here. And then the UK Met model, the metropolitan model, the United Kingdom metropolitan model, little or no snow. So they have these four models here. And one is, really heavy snowstorm coming. Another is maybe some light snow. And the other is no snow at all. So it's menu items here. Take your pick. So what they're predicting is anything could happen. And Michael and I were reading this morning and saying, I could have just said that yesterday. This weekend, I think we'll have either no snow at all or a whole lot of snow or maybe just in between. And that's where we are with that because that's pretty nuts, I got to say. Also, this is the Democrats, and they're crazy, as we know. But there is another kind of, they're all cursing up a storm and doing all that. But a funny kind of, it's not entirely funny. 9 people were killed in an avalanche in the Lake Tahoe area because of the giant snowfall that they had there. And 8 skiers found dead, authorities said in the New York Times. And they've got all the stories on it. And still a 9th skier missing. And it's a truly awful story. There's a group of women who are married women with kids and friends and jobs and things, and they have an annual ski trip. And this year on their annual ski trip, they're up skiing Lake Tahoe, and they got rolled over by an avalanche. And 8 found dead, 8 skiers found dead, 1 still missing, probably not looking very good when it comes to the missing person. But the New York Times is all over the story. Their headline is, warming climate. Oh, no, wait a minute. They say, hey, there's an avalanche in California. People were killed. They got crushed by snow. That's terrible. Hey, that's a climate change story. That's a global warming story. In the wintertime, it's cold, but it's still global warming. So the New York Times has the headline, warming climate can increase avalanche risk. That's what they say. Studies show, and they have studies that show that global warming can increase, that's the key word there, can. That means might. That means they have no idea what they're talking. They're just making up as they go along, pulling it out of their dark and remote location. Warming climate can increase avalanche risk, studies show. That's the New York Times headline. Research has pointed to the dangers of heavier and wetter snowfall. Yeah, that happens in the wintertime, I think, when it's cold and you have snow. Even as the number of snowy days decreases overall in California's Sierra Nevada. See, it's global warming and climate change. See how that goes? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Your Democrat Party. And that's the news media because it's climate change. And also I love the model here. Overall, snowy days, the number of snowy days decreases overall, another keyword there, In California, Sierra Nevada. So there's a mountain range, the Sierra Nevadas, and there's the number of snowy days has decreased, but they got a giant snowfall and 9 people were killed by an avalanche. And so the story is about climate change and global warming because it's a cult and they have all chugged the Kool-Aid forever and ever. Just amazing stuff. 8 skiers are found dead in Sierra Nevada avalanche. A final missing skier was also presumed dead, the authorities said. 6 survivors were rescued. The avalanche is the deadliest in modern California history. It's like the Manson avalanche. It's pretty crazy stuff. So the bodies of 8 skiers found killed during an avalanche were found during a rescue effort late on Tuesday in California near Lake Tahoe. 6 skiers from their party survived and were evacuated, while 1 member of the group remains missing and presumed dead in what is already the deadliest avalanche in modern California history. A second New York Times story on the same topic here. But there you go. Several of those killed were members of the Sugar Bowl Academy. And it's a Sugar Bowl Academy community because everything's a community, you know. According to school officials who said they were not releasing names out of respect for the families affected, the academy is a private boarding school and ski club near Donner Summit. You know, the Donner Pass, famous for people being frozen in and starving to death when there was a wagon train going through there. Wooden wagons being drawn by horses and oxen and things like that. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Laura calling from Haymarket, Virginia. Laura, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Laura.
Thank you for taking my call.
You betcha.
So I saw where you kind of educated Caitlin Collins, and so I need some help understanding this morning, so hopefully you can educate me as well. It seems to me human beings throughout history just really love to sabotage ourselves. Like we're on a good track, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, no, we can't do something good. We actually have to sabotage ourselves and we make life super more difficult. So my question is, I have to see, but how is it that we are, I don't want to say that we're putting faith or take faith away from the Supreme Court, but if there's a person on the Supreme Court that is not able to just look down at their own Netherlands and tell if they're a woman or not, how can I trust their opinion on tariffs? Because I don't think they're an economist. They said they're not a biologist, so they can't tell a woman. So if they're not a biologist, can't tell a woman, then how, if they're not an economist, can they tell about tariffs? Can somebody explain that to me?
That's fun. Yeah, the Ketanji Brown Jackson not being able to define what a woman is when she is one was one of the great moments in Supreme Court confirmation history. Now, what we have here is an interesting split, and I, of course, haven't had an opportunity to dive into it because it just popped while we were on the radio here, and I haven't had a chance to even comb through the summaries of the opinions. But Justice John Roberts, and I would say, I guess I would say this, Laura, that they're not ruling on tariffs per se, but on executive authority, on presidential authority. And that is an area that they should be familiar with. And I find the split to be interesting. And there are 3 conservative nominees to the court that sided with the 3 left-wing radical extremist nominees to the court. And then 3 conservatives and good conservatives, Sam Alito, just great, and I've met him and a wonderful person. Justice Clarence Thomas, I've met many times. We're friends. And Brett Kavanaugh coming down against the President of the United States with the tariffs. Pardon me, they came down with the President. Kavanaugh, Alito, and Clarence Thomas came down with the President saying he can impose these tariffs. John Roberts, just to share the first things popping out of the court today, Laura, John Roberts said the President asserts the extraordinary power of unilaterally imposing tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope. And then there's an ellipsis, or as Joe Biden would say, period, period, period. He must, John Roberts writes, in his majority opinion, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it. So that is just a little slice off the top, Laura, of what John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States, in the majority opinion, in an interesting split with 3 liberals and 3 Americans coming down on the same side, and then 3 conservatives coming down on the side of the president having the authority to do that. Now, Laura, I don't know if that will assuage you in any way. I'm guessing probably not, because we need to get more information, don't we?
Well, what they're saying, it's 150 pages. So, yes, we need to get more information. But still, the timing of it is a little bit interesting, because it doesn't kind of or could possibly give China quite a huge hand in their leveraging, since China is one of the few countries left to come to the table.
Well, that is a great question, too, and I'm not sure that I can provide a well-informed response to that, because I'd have to look further into it before I said, oh, yes, I just don't have the authoritative response to that right now. I'm going to have to look more deeply into it. But China, and look, President Trump, he likes to do what he likes to do, and he's happy to be challenged when it comes to these matters in court, and the Democrats always challenge him in court. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I think it was fast-tracked through the Supreme Court, and the court has ruled against him. And again, the 6-3 split is not the usual 6-3 split in the Supreme Court, right, Laura?
I get that, but we can't necessarily call John Roberts a conservative. But for the 3 justices that you do know, and we can't call Tony Barrett most certainly a conservative either. But the 3 that you do know, and I'm happy that you know them. If you could please give them a message for me and tell them that from a American veteran that I appreciate that they're not utterly insane. So.
That is great. That's wonderful stuff. Yes, and I do. Clarence Thomas is a friend and wonderful. Great American, and one of the great justices of all time. Sam Alito, wonderful, wonderful. We're not great friends, but we've met and dined and so on. Brett Kavanaugh, I've only met once, and that was cocktail in hand at a party. And we've never dined, I don't think. Maybe hors d'oeuvres, light hors d'oeuvres. But, it's a Washington thing. It's everybody does the same stuff that I do, I think. But it's fun stuff. And I like your, shaking your head at him and saying, what's up with that? And who's the conservative again?
The conservative?
Yeah, right. On the Supreme Court, who's the conservative again? John Roberts, as you said, and you're right to raise questions about this. But let me say this, Laura. I don't want the court, and I mean this, I don't want the Supreme Court to come down on the side of the Republican every time. I want them to rule based on the Constitution and the law. And the executive branch should be held to the same standard today as it was under Barack Obama and will be the next time there's a radical leftist lunatic in the White House. I want the Supreme Court to be consistent, to rule based on the law and on the Constitution. And again, I'm going to have to dig more deeply later today, Laura, into this decision, because it's a peculiar one. It really is. It's a strange split on the court, right? And that's got me scratching my head, and I don't want to go off, half-loaded here.
I understand, and I respect that. I thank you for that. I think all of us need to. But let me, you saying that you want consistency. I do, too. That's actually what we fought for. That's one of the things that we fought for. We also fought for not letting terrorists into our country, but hey, there goes that idea.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not consistent, and it hasn't been consistent in a long time. And I, frankly, am tired of watching it. I'm tired of the 2 tiers of justice. I'm tired of us as conservatives being treated so much more differently. I'm tired of the Supreme Court taking cases like they refuse to take the election. It's just insanity saying there's no standing, all that stuff, but they take all these other things. I'm really tired of the inconsistency. And I wish that the Supreme Court would all get themselves under control. And I wish they would get all the other judges and courts under control, and then they would start speaking out against that. I wish everybody would just start policing themselves and start to be the good people that they claim to be. What a world that would be. I want America to stop putting itself down the drain. So that way, my husband and me and all of our friends, all of us that we fought for, we can feel like we didn't do it for nothing. If you want veteran suicides to stop, maybe stop making our lives a waste of time, and the Supreme Court can start that. That's where I would like. The inconsistency, let's just go ahead and stop that. The 2 tiers of justice, let's go ahead and stop that. How come nobody wants to bring up that they're training people in Minneapolis and stuff to throw juries? Can you imagine if conservatives tried to do that? Right. So it would be super nice if the Supreme Court, instead of tanking our ability to make really good trade deals that nobody's done in a while, they've sold us out, but they didn't actually take our considerations. It would be nice if they would stand up, if they are so moral, and they would say enough.
Now, Laura, I got to ask you said you're a veteran. Marine?
Air Force.
Air Force. All right. God bless you. Saluting you. You're a force of nature. Thank you for the telephone call. I'm doing a little speed reading on the Supreme Court here. It turns out that the 6-3 ruling also requires that the federal government, the United States government, refund the tariff revenue that was collected under the emergency tariffs. $175 billion. $175 billion collected under the president's emergency imposition of tariffs on various countries. Really as a form of leverage, as the president was using, to negotiate better trade agreements and better financial relationships with these countries. But the Supreme Court ruling does require the Trump administration to refund $175 billion.